Now, the weekend's Premier League games was to some extent overshadowed by the news that Cristiano Ronaldo is returning to Old Trafford. It's a huge story. Many people see it as a huge coup for Manchester United, which it undoubtedly is, because the alternative appeared to be at one stage that he'd go to Manchester City, and that would have been a blow to United's morale. Other people wonder about the reasons for the signing and what effect it might have on Manchester United's young players in particular. And Mason Greenwood, who scored the winner against Wolves yesterday, is one player who may find himself sitting on the bench a bit more often. I'm joined now by Liam Brady and John Giles to discuss the weekend's football and, of course, the Ronaldo move. John, Ronaldo was great news for United. Quite a few people questioning what the motive is. Is it a kind of gimmick, an expensive one, because he's on 20 million a year and they paid 20 million for him? Or does it make footballing sense? What do you think?
I think it makes sense, Simon. I think there's a bit of both in it, to be honest. I think the getting it over City would be one thing, because it looked like he was going to go to City. And I think if the money people would be involved in it as well, in terms that they might get a lot of that money back in selling his jersey.
They sure will.
So it wouldn't be from the. I wouldn't be so sure that Solskjaer would be influential in the decision to get him back.
Yeah,
I just don't get that feeling. But I think he'll be able to do his stuff. I think he's fit enough. I think the way he plays, like in the penalty area most of the time. But funny enough, I just saw a thing in the paper this morning about statistics on his play, that he is coming deeper and deeper than he was when he was at his best.
Yeah.
And it might account for the fact that Fernandes in the Euros didn't actually play in the team. Very, very little. He was left out of the team with Portugal. And it was the stats were saying that Ronaldo was in his position a lot more than anybody else in the United team.
Yeah.
Now, that's by the way. I mean, you asked me a fairly simple question. Do I think he'll do it? Yeah, I think it'll be good for him.
Yeah.
I think he would have been better for Manchester City, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think he'll do his job. Yeah, I think he's a fit fella. He looks after himself. I think he'll earn his pay. Amen.
Yeah, Liam, you know Italy well, and no one better than you to assess his contribution to Juventus. Again, if you look at facts and figures, it can be arguable. What isn't in doubt is his ability to score goals. He scored 81 goals, Liam, in 3 seasons, including 35 for Juventus last season when they finished fourth and barely scraped into a Champions League place. What's your view on it, Liam?
Well, a bit like John, I think it's a bit of both. I think there's a bit of gimmick here, to it. I think they'll get their money back, as you say, from the sale of his merchandise. And he'll bring his goals to Manchester United's play. But it's whether Manchester United need him that much or whether he's going to make that difference, Eamon, to Manchester United making a real challenge for the league or winning the league. I'm not too sure he's exactly what they need. I watched them yesterday, and I think they need to fix problems in other areas of the pitch,
midfield in particular.
And they have an abundance of strikers, as you know. Cavani didn't play yesterday; he's there as well. Martial, he came on yesterday; he's there as well. I think they probably need to address the central midfield positions rather than sign Ronaldo. But he will make his contribution because, as you say, he's just a goal machine, isn't he? But whether it's going to make the difference to Manchester United winning the league or not, I have my doubts.
Yeah, and John, Juventus bought him in the hope that they'd win the Champions League with him. And in fact, they did quite badly in the Champions League last 3 seasons. They were knocked out last 16, I think, last year. He didn't get the job done there. But his goal record, this is the question for you, John. United have been very potent, particularly away from home. I think yesterday's 24th game without an away defeat. When they put the press on, Ronaldo's not going to be doing that, John, is he? And
No,
therefore,
he doesn't do that.
He's a luxury item, and that's one factor in the equation. The other one is Mason Greenwood, for example, who scored the winner yesterday, who does get goals, who's a young player who needs to play get more game time in the Premier League. He might have to make way for Ronaldo.
Well, it depends on Solskjaer. I mean, whether he has had much say in Ronaldo coming to the club. I mean, he'll have say in picking the team. That's his job.
Yeah.
I mean, in your point about Juventus last year. I mean, Juventus themselves didn't play well. I mean, they weren't the Juventus of old.
That's right.
And he depends on support and giving them the opportunity to score goals. If they're not doing it, he's not going to be in the game.
Yep.
Now, I think at Manchester United will be different. I think they are on top in a lot of the games and creating chances.
Yes.
For him to do what needs to be done as far as he's concerned. But I think what Liam said, there's a bit of a gimmick in it and there's a bit of sense in it. It's difficult to know. We know I think he can score goals.
Yes.
If he can fit into the Manchester United team without spoiling the Manchester United team in certain ways, because Ronaldo will do what he needs to do on the pitch to score goals. Now, whether that suits the team or not, we have to wait and see.
Yep.
I mean, it didn't suit Fernandes, for example, in the Euros, in the position that he plays, which is very much forward. You might have Ronaldo coming deep and the two of them are next to each other.
Yep.
I think that's what happened with Portugal. So there's a lot of sense to be made of it, and we'll only see in time, Eamon, whether it's really, was it really, really sensible for Manchester United to bring Ronaldo back.
Okay, Liam, the match yesterday against Wolves dominated the first half, I thought, and Traore in particular was causing problems. His final pass or shot wasn't good, but he was devastating. He's got pace, he's got upper body strength, he's a strong... And I thought Wolves had by far the better of the first half, but in the end, United did what they've done so often with Mason Greenwood scoring a really good goal to get the 3 points again.
Yeah, well, I thought Mike Dean should have give a foul for against Pogba leading up to the goal.
Yeah,
I thought Manchester United were lucky, and they dug in the second half. There were better performance in the second half. But the first half, Wolves could have been 2 or 3 up. De Gea made a couple of really good saves. Poor finishing from Wolves, poor final pass. But I thought Wolves were the better side, and the amount of times that Manchester United got caught on the break was scary. If you're a United fan and you think you're going to win the league this year, they were all pushing up the pitch, and Wolves caught them several times on the break. And in midfield, I just don't think Fred and Pogba are going to be the players that are going to bring the title to Manchester United.
No, John, that free kick incident was controversial. Dangerous play would be the most obvious foul if you gave a foul, because I don't think Pogba, he didn't make contact with the Wolves player. What did you think?
No, I thought it was. I thought the referee was wrong, totally wrong. If the Wolves player had gone for a ball in the tackle, Eamon, it would have broken his leg.
Yes, yeah.
Pogba went totally over the ball. Now, whether he meant to go over the ball or not, but he certainly went over the ball, sliding in because he lost control of the ball. And luckily enough, the Wolves player, Neves, didn't go for a tackle.
Yes.
Pogba didn't touch the ball, I mean, his foot went right over the top of the ball. If Neves had gone for the ball, it was definitely broken his leg. And the referee, Dean, was, 2-3 yards away from it.
Yeah, he saw it. He saw it clearly.
Clearly. Yeah. And funny enough, I was reading the paper this morning, and that Mark Clutterberg, another referee, said he did absolutely right. The referee. He's a joke with among referees. They don't want to criticise each other. I mean, It was a dreadful tackle. It should have been stopped. He could have got a red card for it. In fact, it could have been. It was that dangerous. So there was no doubt about it. I mean, he was standing beside it. Graham Souness was good in the television afterwards.
Yeah.
He said Pogba never touched the ball
in
the tackle.
Yeah.
Never touched it. It was a dreadful decision.
Right.
Didn't even go to VAR. I don't even know went to VAR, Eamon, on the lead up to the goal. But I thought Manchester United were lucky. I thought Wolves were by far the better team. They missed great. What about the chance they missed in the second half? I think it was a defender when De Gea made a good save.
Yeah, made two great. Yeah.
Yeah, like the United weren't good. They got away with it, yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, Liam, Roy Keane said on television, "I hope Ronaldo's not watching this because he might pull out of the deal." They were that they were that ordinary, and for that particular save that De Gea was called on to make, it was a double save. Second part of it really good. It was Varane who didn't go and attack the ball, and he was well beaten in the end. Now, I've watched Varane a lot for Real Madrid. He always had Ramos beside him. He's a good footballer. He reads the game well, but he doesn't attack the ball in the air, and that's something he'll find difficult in the Premier League, won't he? Because there's an awful lot more of that kind of danger in the Premier League than anywhere else.
Yeah, you can imagine, what he's going to feel when he plays against the likes of Burnley.
Yeah.
I watched highlights of that match as well, and they certainly get stuck in as centre forwards for Burnley. Varane, I think he's a very, very good player. It'll take him a little bit of time to get used to the Premiership. It's different. But I really think that they needed to improve the defence with Lindelof and Maguire. I don't think that was a good partnership at all. We'll have to see if Varane can fit in, Eamon.
Yeah.
But I certainly think they had to address that problem that they had in defence with Lindelof. But the worry for Manchester United, and the same, it was the same at Southampton last week, is the midfield too, Eamon.
Yes.
Fred, I don't think he's good enough.
No.
And Pogba, you just don't know what you're going to get. Yesterday, he was, when he lost the ball, he hardly chased back. He didn't seem to be given 100%. And I think that's the area where Solskjaer needed most to address,
Yes.
Get a really good, strong midfield player in there, which United haven't had for a long time. And Roy Keane's comment was funny, but there's an element of truth in it. I don't think they look like they can win the league this year with that midfield.
Yeah, I don't think they'll win the league either. John, the Chelsea-Liverpool game on Saturday night, that's the standard in a way, isn't it? I mean, these are two clubs I think will be contending all season, and Chelsea got a start on them. Liverpool had dominated the first half. In fact, I don't think Alisson had a save to make. Chelsea, I know we both agreed because we were talking during the game, they were unlucky to have James sent off, although it was a penalty. You don't agree with that rule, do you? And you have a very innovative idea, which you've talked about for years, about what should happen when a penalty is given for an incident like that. Tell us what you think should happen.
Well, I think it was a penalty, Eamon, first of all.
Yep.
And it probably did stop a goal. But I think the rule is wrong. I think it's too harsh for the people, for Chelsea or any other team that's involved in a situation like that. First of all, he stops the ball going in. That's the thing. And they get a penalty. My take on it is if they gets a penalty against them and a red card.
Yeah. Double jeopardy.
I think it's too much. I think what I would do in that situation is that I would wait, let them wait, and like Salah yesterday, if Salah scores, or Liverpool score, or any other team score with penalty, James stays on the pitch.
Right.
If they miss it, then he goes off.
Right.
Right. So it's not a double whammy. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. I actually agree with you, but I wonder what you think about that, Liam. I think I agree with John. It is imaginative, and there may be, kind of rules questions, but it does ensure that you get some kind of justice on both sides of the argument.
Yeah, well, it can spoil a game as well, Eamon, can't it? If the team goes down to 10. In fact, it spoiled it a bit yesterday as well, because Chelsea just dug in and just defended. We didn't see the open game that we'd seen before that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of merit to what John says. We've seen the game change so many times, and so many rules altered and things like that. It is an idea that could work. Absolutely. I thought it's too harsh to have him sent off. He tried to stop the ball with his thigh, and he didn't quite manage to do it, and the ball bounced up, and then his arm came out. So it was a penalty. And when Liverpool scored a penalty, Chelsea just dug in then, and it kind of spoiled a game that had been tremendous up till then.
Yeah.
Well, if he does, it's a double whammy. I mean, okay, he's given a penalty, right, because it's stopping a goal. But if they score from the penalty, it's a double whammy sent off as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. No, I agree with it. It spoils the game, and they should take that into consideration. I think your idea is very good.
Liam and John, I'd like to ask both of you, Liverpool, do they look back close to where they were the season before last, particularly with the home fans there? Liam, and the other question, the same question really, is I think both of those clubs will be the contenders this year. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think both clubs will contend as well as Manchester City. And that would be the three I would pick from what I've seen so far this season. I do think that Liverpool were a better team when Ronaldo was in the side.
Yes, very much so.
I'm not too sure they replaced him. They have the young kid Elliott playing in the middle of the park, but Ronaldo was a different kind of player, and I thought they had more protection when he was in the side. Jordan Henderson is another year older. I didn't think he performed that well. So I think they're missing Ronaldo, but they still have those three guys up front, don't they? And they have Van Dijk back, who they didn't have all last season. So they're going to contend, Eamon.
Yeah, John, I watched Ronaldo play for PSG last night. He's in midfield with Verratti. Mbappe scored 2 goals. They had a comfortable win against Reims, who are really one of the better sides. They were away from home. Messi was on the bench. But Ronaldo is a big loss, isn't he?
Well, they shouldn't have let him go, Eamon.
No, this is the policy of their American owners. This is the Moneyball thing. He's 30 years of age. We're not giving him another contract, which is crazy.
Crazy. So you're losing a player out there, and they haven't replaced him, Eamon. So that's. I think the jury's still out on Liverpool, Eamon.
Right.
In terms of getting to where they were, which we expect them to be.
Yeah.
The
intensity they brought to the game in that season, yeah.
Yeah, well, they had their great season, winning the Champions League, and they were absolutely brilliant. And then it's a question, can you maintain that intensity year in, year out?
Yes.
Now, it was a bad season last season for everybody with the virus and everything else, and they're coming back now. And obviously better than they were last year because they got Van Dijk back in the team. But I'd be curious now to wait and see, is that hunger still there to do what they did a couple of years ago?
Yes.
I think they've got the players. I think Wijnaldum is a huge loss for them. They didn't replace him. And they should be doing that, to bring new blood in, and it's new for them. And it's difficult for any team to repeat it, haven't done what they've done anyway, Eamon. So I think that they have the players that can do it if they have that intensity that they showed 2 years ago. Definitely.
Yeah, Liam.
I think Chelsea, just to finish on Chelsea, I think Chelsea are a real danger, Eamon. I think they're a real danger. I think they've improved the defence. They've improved the team all around with this guy, Tuchel. I think he's done a really good job. And they have the hunger, definitely. I think they will definitely have the hunger that's needed. Now, if they have the abilities, the second thing, to do what needs to be done. But they're a real danger to Manchester United or Liverpool.
Right. Liam, just that question of intensity. You're at Juventus, title-winning team, at Arsenal in a very good team. When you've done it, to do it again, get yourself up. As John knew at Leeds, the season after they won the championship, took them until Christmas to get going again. That is an issue, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But, I think with those three guys they have up front, in Mane, Firmino, and Salah, they have match-winning players.
Yes.
On the field every week, Eamon. And I think what Liverpool had to get right from last season was their defence.
Yes.
And with Van Dijk coming back in, Matip there, I think it's looking a lot stronger than it was last season, and I expect Liverpool to be there or thereabouts at the end of this season. You know, with the three lads they have up front. I don't know whether they can do anything in the transfer window. It's another day to go to address maybe that weakness in midfield without Ronaldo.
Yeah.
I would say that's the area where they need to address to make the team or give the team a better chance of winning the title.
Yeah, John, most of us think or thought that Lukaku coming into Chelsea was the last piece in the jigsaw. Almost it certainly gave them a player who, you know, proved in Serie A last year with Inter that he can score a lot of goals. He can lead a championship winning team. He was disappointing though on Saturday. He certainly didn't bully Van Dijk.
No, well, to be fair to him, he didn't have any support on the week. When they went down to 10 men, particularly, he'd no chance, and he's not the type of player that can do it without support. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Like when the likes of Kenny Dalglish at his best could hold the ball and hang it up and all that, and bring people into the game and that. Lukaku can't do that. I mean, when he was stuck up front on his own, and he can't do that. No, I think he'll be a good player for Chelsea over the season. And I think he's scored a fair share of goals, but he won't be. He's not one of the great players. I mean, he's a big, strong fella. That's good. They need him. I think he'll score more goals than any of the other forwards that Chelsea had. But I wouldn't judge him on the weekend match against Liverpool.
Okay, Liam, Arsenal away to Manchester City, 5-0 defeat, and a bit of a humiliation, really, for the second week running, you could say, because Chelsea, you know, gave them...
Third week running, Eamon. Third week
running. Sorry.
We lost to Brentford in the first match.
Yeah, of course. And that was...
it's a basket case. It's a complete basket. And I can't see it getting any better. Well, obviously, I don't think they'll get relegated, but, I don't see Arsenal being... a top 8 side this season.
No.
There's an enormous amount of change that has to happen there. And it's really, really worrying, really worrying. You heard me, myself, yourself and John have had this discussion time and time again. But Xhaka, they've given him a new contract, Eamon. They've
made him captain.
Well, he was captain when Aubameyang was missing, and made him captain. And they were looking to sell him in the early on in the summer. It looked like he was going to Roma and join Mourinho. He had a good Euros, and I thought, well, this is it. We'll get rid of him. Finally he'll go. He won't be there anymore. We won't have to watch him playing. But there he is. There he is again, and doing the same stupid things that we've seen over the last few years. There's no chance he had of staying on the pitch when he went and made a tackle like that.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. But we've given him a 4-year contract. So that I think, is an example of how bad things are being run at Arsenal.
Yeah, John, a formerly great club. It'll always be a great club in the history of the game. But they're on the slide now in a big way. And I just, we know about Xhaka, John. We've talked about him, as Liam said, forever. Being a bad pro, really, as well as a bit of a cheat. For the young players coming in, they've got a couple of good young players, Saka and Smith Rowe, and they've young Brazilian Marinelli, who didn't start on Saturday but started the week before. It's very, very hard for a young player coming into a mess like that, where the senior pros, Pepe was left out of the squad on Saturday, and they made a point of saying it wasn't COVID related, so he obviously had a disciplinary problem. He's a player that cost them 70 million. They're headed for trouble, John, and it will damage those good young players they have.
Okay. But I don't think they're heading for damage. I mean, I think the damage is there, and I feel certain bit sorry for Arteta, because I don't know if he's in charge of the blooming situation. I mean, they do have a few players missing, that experienced players to come in, which might suit them good. But I read the paper the weekend, and Aubameyang saying, well, we have to talk, we have to get together, we have to do it. He hasn't played. And it's always a thing. I mean, you see teams that are in a bad way. The fella that's most at fault is doing most of the mouthing.
Yeah.
You know, and Liam was talking about Xhaka. I mean, to have the Xhaka situation at the moment is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I mean, they took the captaincy away from him. Want him to give it back to him again now. Yeah. I mean, he's never going to change.
No.
So, I just wonder, is Arteta in charge of the situation as much as he should be? Because if he's not, well, they're in big trouble anyway. So regardless of the manager situation, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes with the director of football and some of the decisions that have been made. But there's no doubt they're in big, 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 big trouble.
Liam, it only rubs salt in the wounds that Spurs are top of the league. And for the first time, unbelievably, since 1949, when Arthur Rowe was the manager, they've won the first. That's amazing. You probably don't remember Arthur Rowe. John and I will.
I read about him. I don't remember him, but I did read about him.
He was the guy who loved push and run. He loved the tiki-taka game before Guardiola was born. But this fella, Nuno Espirito Santo, their new coach, who they got from Spurs, he did a great job. He got from Wolves, rather. He did a great job at Wolves, and he looks like he's done a very good job. They haven't conceded a goal, and even without Harry Kane, who was back for yesterday and looks like he's staying, it won't help Arsenal fans' mood, will it?
Not at all. If you look at the league table, no, it's very depressing if you're an Arsenal fan. But Spurs have started the league very well. He's tightened Nuno Santos. He's tightened the defence up. They haven't conceded a goal, Eamon. I thought they were a little bit lucky to get the win they did at Wolves last week. And all the business about Harry Kane, will he, won't he, was he going to go to Manchester City, couldn't have been a help to him. It was a huge distraction, wasn't it, what was going on with Spurs all season. You have to give them a lot of credit for where they are. No goals conceded. They won the 3 games 1-0, so they're obviously doing something right. And I think they've still got real good forwards, Eamon. A bit like Liverpool with Kane back in the fold, and Son there, and Lucas Moura or Bergwijn is on the other side. Yes. They've got goals in that team, so I think Spurs can look forward to a very good season.
Yeah, John, they've got Son as well, who played his 200th game at the weekend, scored a winner again, as he scored a winner against Manchester City. He's a fabulous player, isn't he?
He's a great lad, Eamon.
Yeah.
And they've given him a new contract, which is good.
Yeah.
But one thing we've learned, Eamon, bit about Spurs, don't mess with Daniel Levy.
Don't do any gentleman's agreement.
Oh, he's come out right on top, Eamon. I mean, he's unbelievable. There's no doubt what he did, how he handled the situation. I'm not a fan of his. I don't like him at all. I don't know him, but I don't like him. But the job he's done with the Harry Kane situation. I mean, Harry now is back playing. He's scoring goals for Spurs at a time when he was saying he wanted to get away, he wanted to do this, he wanted to do that. And Levy kept his nerve, did his stuff, and I think he's done a really, really big job for Spurs there.
I want to ask both of you. I'll start with you, Liam. How will this affect Harry Kane? It looks like he's going to have to stay there now, Liam. He'll be another year older if he gets away, but it doesn't look as if he will get away. It could be a head wrecker for him, couldn't it?
I think he's a sound lad, Eamon. I think he's a very good professional. So I have a feeling he'll just revert back to type. I don't think it will upset him. I think he's such a good professional. He'll get on with it. I thought he made a big mistake going public on the fact that he wanted to leave Spurs.
Yeah.
He could have done that privately with Daniel Levy and said, look, if someone comes in, I wouldn't mind going. And Spurs get the right kind of money that they wanted for him.
Yeah.
But he could have done that, without anybody knowing anything about it. And he left himself open to a lot of criticism. A lot of Spurs fans weren't happy with him. But I think he's such a good pro, he'll just revert back to type. And it's almost like a new signing for Spurs. I'm sure the manager is very, very happy to have him.
Yeah, John, you always rated Harry Kane even before people started talking about him. This is tough for him to take, but he seems to be up for it and live with Daniel.
I think he will, Eamon. It's in his interest to do it.
Yeah.
He's in his interest. How he stops playing, he's not going to get in the England team. He has to get on with the job.
Yeah.
And what we read about the thing, I think they did make him $100 grand a week more.
Oh, okay.
To stay with the club, so it's not as if it's been a bad situation for him. I didn't
know about
for his
that.
own sake. Yeah, he's got to get on with the job. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he was making a fuss to get an increase in wages.
No, he's a good lad. Yeah,
he's a good lad and he's a good pro. But he has to, and it's for his own sake, Eamon. He's captain of the England team. He's back in the Spurs team. He's got to make it back with the supporters again there. So it's in his interest to do it. And I think he will do it. I think he's a terrific player. I think he's a good lad, as Liam says. I think he made a big mistake in handling the situation the way he did when he was talking about a gentleman's agreement and all that carry on, which was a load of rubbish. And now he's got to get back and do the job, and I think he will.
Okay, just a couple of final points. Liam, Rafa Benitez, tough guy, very good coach, went to Everton, caused murder in Liverpool. Everton fans were going to boycott the club and all of that. But he gets the business done. And to go to Brighton, who I think are a really decent team, and win 2-0, they're bang there now in the table, 7 points from the 3 games they've played. It's an interesting situation, and he's proved himself to be a tough manager who delivers. He'd go anywhere, including China, to work, and he went to Newcastle, which was rather brave. He's an admirable character, isn't he?
I think he's done a good job everywhere he's been. I remember he came in at Chelsea when they sacked the manager. I think it might have been Ancelotti, and he won them the UEFA Cup or Europa League. You know, he's the guy is a proven winner. You know, he did a great job, as you say, at Newcastle. He was tremendous at Liverpool. If you speak to Didi Hamann, he swears by him. You know, he says he's a brilliant manager, and he's a real authoritative guy. Yeah, and I expect him to do a very, very good job at Everton. Yep. Did you see the carry on though over the penalty aim and the fighting on it? No, that was funny. Yeah. Calvert-Lewin was the penalty taker, but Richarlison wanted to take the penalty, and they very nearly came to blows. But going back to Benitez, he's a very good manager, and I can see Everton improving on what they did last season. Yeah,
John, in Steven Gerrard's book, Steven had been captain of Liverpool when Rafa was there. He said he never felt the love from Rafa. I don't think he does love.
No, I think whatever he's done, or wherever he's been, he's done a big job. I don't think there's any nonsense with him in terms of that. And I'd say we'd looked at the Gerrard situation and say, well, I get the best out of him doing what I'm doing. Because Steve Gerrard, as we know, was a hero there, Eamon. Yeah. He might have thought, well, he's got too much to say in the club. Yeah. And maybe this... Look, the main thing is, did Gerrard play for him, Eamon?
Well, that's the thing, he did.
He certainly did. Yeah. So therefore, maybe Benitez thought, well, Gerrard's been here a long time. He's the star of the show. He's going. But if he doesn't do what I want him to do, he's not going to be any star for me. But he got him playing. I mean, that's a manager's job, no matter who the personalities are. I mean, get the best out of them. That's their job. Not being popular with the crowd or anything else. Get the best. And I think looking at the back over the years, I think Gerrard probably had his best time under Benitez.
He did, and maybe he learned something about coaching and management, because he's doing a really good job.
Exactly, if there's another Gerrard up there, he's going to treat him the same as the way he was treated.
Yeah. Now, I just want to briefly and sadly mention 2 things that emerged last week. John, for you, the death of Terry Cooper, somebody that you played alongside for a very long time, 10 years. He was a Leeds player all his career and a brilliant player. And sadly, he died last week. He had cancer, Eamon. Yeah. He was over at the Leeds too last year. We had the Freedom of the City, Christmas 12 months. And I was quite near him. And somebody said to me, see, Terry's here. And I said, is he? Where is he? And he was only 10 yards. He didn't look well, obviously. No. I didn't recognise him. Yeah. He was bad. He lived in Spain had lived in Spain for a good number of years, and really good lad, terrific player, as we all know, and a really good lad, and very sad, really very, very sad. Yeah, and also Liam, news last week, Dennis Law issued a statement saying that he had Alzheimer's and he was going to fight on, but he asked people to be understanding in that. And that meant, strangely, that in the team that John played in, that won the cup final in 1963, 6 of that Manchester United team have had this dreadful disease. And Dennis was such a sparkling player, such a life force on the field. Really sad to see.
Yeah, I was very, very upset when I'd read about him, because I always looked up to Dennis Law.
Yes,
I've always found him very, very, very funny. And when he did a terrific. They did a great documentary on him a couple of years ago on his career in football, and what a player he was. And there's no doubt, Eamon, there is a link between dementia and football. Terry McDermott is only in his 60s. Has come out last week and said he's got it. Willie Young, who I played with at Arsenal, centre back, big strong centre back. He's had it the last few years. He's only in his 60s. So there's definitely a link to playing football, and just hope that they can be looked after. The PFA and the Football Association and the Premier League will make sure that these people are looked after going forward.
We hope so.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that, Liam.
No, John, you can speak from personal experience about the sadness of this and the tragedy. Your sister Kay, married to the great Nobby Stiles, who died not so long ago. Nobby had spent a long time with dementia, and it was extremely sad. And the help that was supposed to come from the Players' Union and Manchester United never arrived.
No, very sad, Eamon, and very, very disappointing, particularly from the PFA.
Yes.
Where I don't know, I won't go into detail on it, Eamon.
Yeah.
But the PFA haven't been good for players, former players who ran into the dementia situation and other bad situations.
Yes.
They haven't been looked after at all, in many ways, not at all. So hopefully the new man going in there into the PFA, and they got over 50 million in the bank and all that. There was a time they had no money, but I think it might improve, and hopefully it will improve for ex-players who hit on very, very bad times.
Yep, and that's why personally, and I'm speaking in personal capacity, I don't begrudge the players who are getting the money today one little bit. Sorry to end on a sad note, but these are people who have given so much to so many people, as indeed have John and Liam. We're very grateful to John Giles and Liam Brady for talking to us today.